guys, what's up? It's Priscilla with Live Iwakuni, and on today's episode we are going to be talking about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and I know near and dear to many of you. What is it, you ask? Today we would like to talk about some of the most asked questions that you guys have about bringing your pet to Japan. We want to talk about things like what you can expect with quarantine, kennels, vets, and overall life with your pet here in Japan. So in order to do that, we are going to give you some of our own personal experiences, which is why I brought the lovely Amber here today. Amber and her husband are pet parents of a 130-pound Great Dane named Gully. He is absolutely adorable. We definitely love Gully around here. So thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I don't know if you guys remember, but Amber was also in our wine videos. So if you guys haven't checked our wine videos out, please do that. I'm gonna put the link either here or here. We're not sure yet, but it's gonna be here somewhere for you. And also guys, if you haven't checked us out on YouTube, please go on over to YouTube and subscribe to our channel, hit the notification button. I know a lot of you are watching on Facebook right now, but we would really appreciate you also subscribing to YouTube, so make sure you check that out. I am the pet owner to a dog named Ellie, along with my husband. I shouldn't forget my husband. He's essential in this equation. She is a lap mix, and she has a special condition called megaesophagus. She is not a dinosaur, guys. The vet assured us that she's not turning reptilian. But she does have a special condition. So we wanted to share our personal experiences because these are the most extreme cases we've heard of a dog that is really large getting him to Japan, and a dog like mine who has some special conditions. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. Okay guys, so we're not going to go into step-by-step detail of all of the processes that you have to go through to get your pet here to Japan, but if you guys want to see that, let us know in the comments below, because we would be more than happy to make future videos for you that kind of explain more in depth what the process is to get you here to Japan with your pet. With that being said though, I want to let you know that anything that we talk about here in this video is also going to be in the links below. They have a really great handout packet at the Iwakuni Vet's office that I'm going to put in the links below for you. That way you can see exactly what they have at the Iwakuni Vet Clinic here at MCAS Iwakuni. So just keep that in mind. There are restrictions on pets coming to Japan, guys. Check those out. See if your pet falls within those restrictions. But generally, cats, dogs, and yes, birds? Birds are okay. If your dog or cat or animal doesn't fall within those restricted breeds or animal types, then you can just assume that there's going to be 2 rounds of vaccinations for your pet and a 180-day quarantine. I don't know about you, Amber, but I felt really, really scared when I heard the word quarantine.
Oh yeah, you think of like masks and like
prison, dungeons,
right. Like
Sarah McLachlan video.
Yes, oh my god.
Arms of an angel. No, stop. No, don't do that to my animal is what I was thinking. I love my animal, don't do it. But no guys, the quarantine process is actually far less scary than you would think, the word quarantine. You can do that inside your home while you're stateside, and then if they haven't finished their quarantine, which my dog Ellie had not finished her quarantine by the time she got here, then you can finish it here on base. There are a couple of caveats to that we'll go ahead and explain later. Did Gully finish his quarantine in the United States?
He did, but there were paperwork errors.
Okay. So guys, that can happen while you're traveling overseas. So all the paperwork required, cross your T's and dot your I's, right?
Oh my god, yeah. Don't just trust one place to look it over and make sure it's okay. Even if it's the place that gave you the paperwork, look it over, have your spouse look it over, have your family look it over, because our 6 should have been an 8 or something to that effect. It was one number, and we had to do 20 days of quarantine until it was fixed here in Iwakuni.
Okay, yeah, so just be careful guys. I think it's probably your best bet if you're moving your family and your pet across the world, make sure all of your paperwork is handy, and multiple copies of that paperwork is really, really essential. So make sure that you do that. Since Gully was so big, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about your experience flying with him over the ocean? Who did you use to get him over here, and how did it go?
Okay, so Gully, like Priscilla said, is 130 pounds at the time, because he lost a little bit of weight. At the time he was probably more like 140. He did not fit in the 700 series crate, which is the biggest sort of plastic crate on the market. So we found out the hard way. We bought the crate, found out he didn't fit in it, so we had to build from the ground up a wooden crate. Thankfully my husband is talented in such areas because I am not. Built it up in the living room from the ground up and allowed Gully to really experience it, smell it. We rewarded him for eating in it and going to it and sleeping in it. So by the time we left, it was just a piece of home for him. Knowing that we couldn't be at every stop along the way, because Gully had to fly in a 787, whereas we flew in a 777, we wouldn't be able to be with him. So because he had to go in a bigger plane, we had to have Sarah's Pet Paradise meet up with him.
Okay.
Now we did try to get him straight from Virginia to Tokyo, but he ended up in Colorado, but they took care of it. We used,
Yay, Colorado, we're hometown.
yeah, we used United in conjunction with Sarah's.
Okay, so good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sarah's, guys, is one of the places that you can use kind of as a liaison for your animal. And I actually reached out to Sarah's Pet Paradise. I'm gonna have what they said in the comments below as well, so check those out as far as what they said about bringing your pet to Japan. I know that since you brought Gully to Japan, there are new restrictions on bringing your larger animals and specific breed types to Japan. So how does that affect Gully?
Well, since he doesn't fit in the largest crate, they are no longer shipping, United, I should say, is no longer shipping animals that will go in crates larger than the 700 series. So although Great Danes are not on the restricted list, in essence, Gully is kind of in a little bit of a position here because his crate won't be able to fly back. So we don't really know what we're gonna do because as of March 2019, those new restrictions for United go into place, where the breed restrictions go into place and the crate size restrictions go into place. So we don't really know what we're gonna do.
Right, and we hope that everything works out.
I know.
Yeah, just the easy button. We need one easy button, right, guys?
Yes.
I also went out, guys, and looked on the official United website. Some of you who are active duty military will be grandfathered into that, but as things change so frequently, we highly recommend that you check out the guidelines for United and what the military website says as well. That's the official documents that you'll need to really go by when it's time for you guys to either move from the United States to Japan or from Japan back to the United States. So just keep that in mind. Tell us a little bit about your life here in Japan with Gully as far as your housing is concerned, because I don't know if any of you guys know this, but Amber and her husband are civilians. They're not active duty military, so they live out in town.
So we got with Yuki. What's up, Yuki? At the housing office here on base. She was extremely helpful. She said, you know, you have a dog, that's not going to be a problem for you to find a home, because originally we were scared that it was going to be small, that having a dog was going to be a no-go, but she reassured us that we were going to be fine. I will say we had about 5 houses that fit our criteria, and the owner was okay, or the owners were okay with us having a dog, but when Yuki explained to them further that our dog is man-sized, that number,
Bigger than her.
yes, that number dwindled to 2 or 3 homes, but we were able to find a decent sized home with a yard, and it worked out just fine.
Yeah, and I've actually been to Amber's home because she's been so nice to have me there, and it is a very nice traditional Japanese home. If you are a person who is going to be moving out in town instead of onto base, there are options for you for your dog, because Gully, the 130-pound Great Dane, found a home in Japan. Yes. So can yours.
Yes.
Yes. And I will also add on to that, I live on base. In fact, we're in my house right now, and they have small yards, pretty small yards, so they're not great. I feel like Gully would feel kind of cramped in our yard, yeah. But our lab mix is perfectly fine with just the little area that we have. Some of the older homes have bigger yards that are very nice for animals and for children. And then the towers, which are apartment complexes here on base, they allow pets on the bottom floor of those. So if you're coming here with no kids, or for some reason they try to put you in a tower, they also are allowing pets on the bottom floor of the tower. So just keep that in mind. How do the Japanese react to Gully?
Sometimes we come across Japanese folks that are scared, just because if you think about it, there are not large breed dogs here for the most part.
Right.
Like the Shiba Inu is fairly small, and that's a really common breed that you'll see. But most of the time they're very entertained. Had little kids like up against windows trying to see and take pictures. That's very common for us to, I mean, I don't know how many strangers have pictures of Gully on their phone. But we have an elderly woman, she and her husband live very close to us, and they work tirelessly in their garden, and she was very scared at first, and we were on our walk and I handed her a treat and she was very much like, okay, and she overcame her fear. So it was awesome.
Oh, good. And I've had the exact same experience, guys. Japan loves their dogs. They love animals in general. They have the most adorable pet stores dedicated just to pet needs and things like that. So really, the Japanese are really awesome about letting your animal in parks, and they're friendly and they generally come up, and so it's great. You don't have to worry about, oh man, do the Japanese like dogs out in town? Can I take my dog out in town? You absolutely can. And speaking of that, there are some places that you can take your dog as far as parks and beaches. We do have one beach here, Glass Beach, which allows dogs. I've taken my dog Ellie to 3 Falls, which is really cool, and just kind of walked those nature walks. Is there anywhere that you've taken Gully that you would recommend for people who are wanting to bring their pet here?
Yeah, we take our dog to the, well, we go in the on-base dog park because there is one of those, and we take him to Otago, which is the annex from the main base here in Iwakuni. 7 Falls, 3 Peaks. We've taken him everywhere. Mountain biking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
If you see me on base, guys, my dog might have a baby Diego. Just saying. I should also say that Amber and I don't have children yet, so I'm sure that'll change if and when we have children. But for now, it's the dog's life.
Yeah.
I will say that, you know, the seawall is really also great for the dogs here on base. That's a really great place. I know that Ellie loves to walk on the seawall, and it's a great view too, and it's a nice walk here on base if you're looking for an on-base option. They do have to be leashed, of course, while on base, and just regular, normal rules apply. Pick up after your dog, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my dog Ellie. As I said before, Ellie has megaesophagus. So that's basically a genetic condition she was born with. Her esophagus is too big for her throat, so she actually can't swallow very well. We have her sit in something that's called a Bailey's chair. It's basically a doggy high chair, and she eats special food. I also had concerns getting her over here. They wanted to do a layover in San Francisco like Gully, so she wasn't taking a direct flight from the United States to Tokyo. She ended up riding in cabin with us, but overall it was a pretty smooth experience. It wasn't as terrible as I had thought. She was okay. She's a little bit fearful, as I think also you mentioned. She lost a little weight, so you can expect your animal to have that adjustment period when they get here. They're completely out of whack. It's not a normal thing for at least our pets to ride an airplane.
Yeah.
So this will probably be the 2 times in her life that she will ride on an airplane. And so she was a little bit more skittish than I think she would have been if we were just moving from one place to the other in the United States. So keep that in mind. Just know that it's pretty normal for your pets to lose weight and then to gain it back. So keep that in mind. Ellie has special dietary concerns, and I have to let you guys know that there isn't a whole lot of options here on base for our military for pet food, especially those pets with specific dietary needs. They have some, but not a whole lot. They also have quite a bit in town that I've seen, but again, guys, it's really hard sometimes to know what it is that you're feeding your animal, especially when it's in Japanese. And then on top of that, the portion sizes are different. So they're not going to be Gully size portions. They're going to be Yorkie size portions or Shibu type portions. So just keep that in mind. Cat food is pretty abundant here. The Japanese love their cats. again, I think that the selection is limited for cat food on base as well, so just keep that in mind. And honestly, I haven't really looked places for other pet foods because I have a dog, but they definitely have pet stores, so just check those out. CAINZ is a good one to check out for Japanese dog food, cat food, pet food. I'm store in Hiroshima or Hazukaichi, so keep those in mind. Those will help you if you can't find what you need. Also, Petco, and I'm not sure if PetSmart, but I know Petco for sure, ships here. Amber had mentioned to me that Chewy.com is what you use to say that?
They don't.
Doesn't, okay.
We use Amazon.
Okay, Amazon's also great. We love Amazon here, they save our lives. What did people do before Amazon?
I don't know.
The next thing we wanted to talk to you guys about was kennels and vets. So I'm gonna hand it over to Amber. Tell us a little bit more about the vet on base.
Okay, so with our quarantine issue, Captain Dwyer was on vacation when we first got here, but once she returned, really helped us kind of figure out with the vet back home what the paperwork error was, get the corrected stuff overnighted, and she really helped us turn it around. She is all about Gully, loves Gully, and he loves her. So we always have a great experience when we go to the vet and see Captain Dwyer. We love her. Yes,
and I've actually had a similar experience with Captain Dwyer, so kudos to Captain Dwyer. Thank you, Christina, who has also been super, super sweet with Ellie and my family. So we really, really appreciate the vet on base. I will let you guys know that the Navy has joined us here at MCAS IWAKUNI, so like everything, it's just gotten a little bit busier. When I first got here, I could call them and get Ellie in right away. Now, the appointments are filling up. So if there is an emergency or if you can't make an appointment for your pet, there are options that you can go to off base. Dr. Fujishima out in town is really, really awesome. I took Ellie there when she was getting really, really sick, and they took great care of her, got her x-rays, antibiotics, and she was Ellie-san, and I just love that.
That's so cute.
Ellie-san and Ellie-san. I love it, love it. I love Japan, oh my goodness, I love Japan. So we just love it there, so keep that in mind. The vet on base isn't your only option, even though we've had really good experiences with them.
Yeah, yeah.
So along with that, the kennel here on base is separate from the veterinary office. And for my dog specifically, they will not accept her at the barking lot because she's got a whole lot of things that have to be specially done for her, and they can't accommodate those needs. So Ellie can't go to the vet, or excuse me, not to the vet clinic. Ellie cannot go to the barking lot, which is the kennel here on base. Have you had any experience with a barking lot?
Yeah, so when we first got here, obviously we didn't have a house yet. We stayed in the temporary living facility, and Gully stayed in the kennel while we got his paperwork figured out because no pet rooms were open at the time. And it was pretty small for such a big guy. Everybody has their little space, and then they gave him kind of a little place to run around, and they walked him twice a day. And I saw all the other dogs, rain or shine, getting walked, and the place was so clean. You could probably eat off the floor. Like, they were great, like absolutely wonderful, but it was a little small for a big guy.
Okay, so don't have any concerns. I wouldn't have any major concerns about bringing your healthy, amazing animal to the barking lot here on base. There are groomers and also kennels off base. I'm gonna try to put those in the links below for you guys to give you some other options besides just the barking lot. But something you said just reminded me that they do have pet-friendly accommodations when you first get here at the temporary lodging facility, TLF. And at the time that I came, there weren't very many and they were under renovation. I will say those spaces are very limited, and it's kind of a first come, first serve basis. So you're not guaranteed a room that is pet friendly at the TLF, and you're not guaranteed a spot at the barking lot either. So there are some new rules and restrictions regarding people fostering your animal. You're really gonna wanna check those out before you come to Japan, and also is another reason why I would say, if at all possible, finish your quarantine before you get to Japan. Your dog won't be in prison, but it just makes things a lot more complicated, and life is complicated moving across the world. You don't need to make it more complicated.
Definitely.
So just keep that in mind. And the last thing that I really wanted to touch on, guys, is should or shouldn't you bring your dog, cat, or pet to Japan? And I want to take a moment just real quick to acknowledge that we have lost a few pets traveling across the ocean. I know for United recently, and then it's happened within our own community, and it's so sad, guys. Our pets are part of our family. We know that, and it's just heartbreaking when something happens to them like that. So I think that there is consideration on whether or not you should bring your animal to Japan. And I kind of wanted to send it over to you, Amber, to just kind of ask you, I know I've seen that you're an amazing dog mom to Gully, and I know that you're so happy that he is here with you. So why don't you give us some reasons why you love having your animal here with you in Japan?
Okay, so first I'll say that it is pretty subjective. Whatever your situation is, you have to do what's right for you and your family. But for us, with Gully, because we're civilian, we had the option to come here and we could decline it if we wanted to. So really, our thought process was, if we can't bring Gully, we're not going to Japan. And I know that that's not your situation or many of your situations, but we wanted him with us because we knew that we could give him the best life. Even if that meant being a little bit stressed out for a couple of days with the flights and not knowing where he was sometimes and all of that, because we worked so hard to prepare him. He's like our third pea in our pod. He's our boy. Aww. So, oh my god, I'm gonna cry talking about.
Don't cry. Tissue. I know that's Kathy Lee and hot tissue. Everyone in my mouth.
Yeah. But we wanted to experience Japan with our family, with our unit, not give our dog away or something like that, just because we knew that we could give him the best experience ever. So that's why I have Gully.
Okay. We love that. You're gonna make me cry. It's okay. Fine, don't. Okay, so I really love my dog Ellie as well. As I had mentioned, we don't have children yet, and so she was and is a part of our extended family. If I were to give you guys some reasons why you shouldn't bring your pet to Japan, I think my line of thinking would be, if your dog has a special condition like mine, or your cat or your animal, the transition is a lot rougher. I just don't have the kind of access to amazing facilities and places to watch my animal as I think I would stateside. One of my amazing friends takes care of Ellie, and you know who you are. Thank you, you are a godsend, but it is just a lot more difficult. Since I don't have the proper facilities and access to food and things like that, it becomes more difficult to have Ellie here in Japan. If I were to go back in time, I think I would consider leaving her stateside. And guys, we know that this is a tough decision always, and I don't think that whether you bring your pet or if you don't bring your pet, it's a wrong decision.
No.
It's just what is going to fit in your family dynamic, and only really you can say whether or not it's a good fit. Again, if you are willing to work the problem, in my experience, I think anything is solvable.
Yeah.
So the same goes with pets and animals. All right, guys, I hope that we have answered some of the major questions about living with your pet in Japan. We guys hope you are safe and are living IWAKUNI.